And so I have like a bunch of, I have doubles of a lot, but I need doubles. No, I don't, but like I need doubles. Hey guys, welcome back to the Clean Beauty Code. I'm so excited for this video. We're talking makeup brushes today. We're talking about my favorite makeup brushes, and I'm really excited to get into it. This has been like a pretty highly requested video, and I finally got around to filming it. And I'm excited to share my favorites with you guys and get into the ones I've had for years, ones that might be newer, why I love them, all of that. Makeup brushes can really, we're also going to be talking sponges too. Makeup brushes can really make or break your makeup look, genuinely. Like, it can really completely change like the application in general, and really like just completely transform how it's going to wear, how it applies, and how it looks in photos. In like, there's a million different reasons why different makeup brushes, like there's different brushes for foundation, and why different foundation brushes do different things. So I'm really excited to get into this video. I would also love to know down below what your favorite makeup brush is, so let me know down below. Let me know your favorite makeup brush for foundation, concealer, eyeshadow, whatever it is, let me know. And I kind of just want to jump into this video because I don't want it to be super long, and I want it to be like informative enough. So I'm going to hopefully shut my dang trap and stop yapping on. So if you're excited for this video and more videos like this, then please like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into my favorite makeup brush video. All right, you guys, so let's get into it. I'm going to break it up into just like face, all of that stuff, then eyes, then sponges, just to keep it kind of categorized and make it easy. So let's get into it. First, my holy grail obsession favorite foundation brush. And I don't think anyone who's watched this channel before will be surprised by this. This brush here, the Heavenly Luxe number 7 from IT Cosmetics. I am just truly obsessed with this brush. It just blends everything out like a dream. There's a reason that there's so many people obsessed with this, and makeup artists use this. This just blends everything out so seamlessly. The way that I like to use it is I kind of like to like stamp my makeup in. I don't like to swipe or anything like that. I think swiping in general when you're using brushes, sometimes it can work, but stamping in product is just always the move. So that's what I really like to use this for. Like, this is just so good. This is also incredible for under the eyes, around the nose, spot concealing if you need to. This is just really, really good. And it is definitely a more expensive brush, but I would say it's 100% worth it. This is one that I made sure to buy. I was like, I did my own makeup for my wedding, and I was determined to get the perfect foundation brush for myself. And then I got this, I used this, and I was like, oh, this is, I need this. And this was the brush I used on my wedding day. My makeup looked flawless. It didn't look heavy, but it looked airbrushed almost. I don't know. This is really, really good. Highly recommend this brush. Okay, so the next I have a couple brushes from like a collection of brushes, but I'm going to call out the ones that are my favorite from that collection. So I have the Ariel Morphe collection of brushes. I have the full collection of all the brushes, but then I also bought the separate eyeshadow brush one. And so I have like a bunch of, I have doubles of a lot, but I need doubles. No, I don't, but like I need doubles. So I really like this brush. This is the A24 from like the full set collection, and this is amazing. I love this for blending out bronzer. I like to place it on my face and then blend it out with this. This is another one where like just pushing in the product and just it like blends stuff out seamlessly. This is also a great foundation brush. I just kind of prefer this one. It's a little bit less dense. This is a little bit more on the dense side slightly. This is great for foundation, great for contour, great for bronzer. This is just such a good product to use with creams in general. I really, really like it. And sometimes when I over apply blush or something like that, so every day, because I always over apply blush, I like to go around the edge of my blush with this, but I also like to use the Heavenly Luxe number 7 for that. Both great brushes. Next, let's move on to this bronzer brush. I love this bronzer brush. This is the Sephora Pro 59, and this is just so good. I love this bronzer brush for a couple of reasons. I do not have a big face at all. My face is very small, and bronzer brushes tend to overwhelm my face. This one is great because it is not super, like, look at that. That is like the perfect size. I love this. I love this for powder bronzer. I mean, you can use it for a million things, but I love this for powder bronzer, especially for my people out there who just have smaller faces and stuff can overwhelm. This is great because it pinpoints it perfectly. It blends beautifully. For people who have who like something that overwhelms their face a little bit more, this is an amazing bronzer brush here. I mean, it's just so good. So this is the Real Techniques 201 brush, and this is so good for bronzer. It just diffuses it beautifully. It is just such a good bronzer brush, and it is really fluffy. It doesn't shed. I don't know, in general, you cannot go wrong with Real Techniques brushes. Real Techniques is just like so freaking good. They know what they're doing there. This is great, and this just blends everything out beautifully. This is a very large brush for my face, but this is amazing. And I do like to use it on days where I want to be super, super bronzed up, but I don't want it to be powder heavy. This diffuses it beautifully. I don't know, I'm obsessed with this brush. Okay, next we have another Real Techniques brush, and I really like this for lightly applying powder. So it could be loose powder, it could be powder that's packed in a pan. This is great. So this is the Real Techniques blush brush, and I've used it for blush too. I have other ones that I prefer for blush, but this is really good for just lightly applying powder, just like all over the face. It's just so good. It has enough fluff. It doesn't pick up too much product. It's not super dense. I don't know. This is one that's just so good for like fluffing all over the face. If I'm using the Hourglass, let's say ambient lighting powders, or the Honest Beauty ones that I found that are due for the Hourglass ambient lighting powders, this is just so good for just fluffing it all over the face. It's just so good. I'm obsessed with this brush. Okay, next. This brush looks crazy, but I'm obsessed with it. This is the Scott Barnes 65 brush. I love this. I also use this on my wedding day. This is great for really pinpointing and being very specific with the application of your bronzer. But this also applies, you can tap, you can swipe with this. This is really good for, what does Scott Barnes say? Toasting the edges all around the face. This is just so good. This is, I'm obsessed with this brush. And this is a little bit more on the expensive side, but I definitely think for events or stuff like that, if you have a wedding and you're doing your own makeup, this is a great one. Sometimes bronzer brushes in general can overwhelm. This is a really good brush. I really, really like this. And the density is great. It's super soft. His brushes are really, really luxe. I'm a big fan of this one. Okay, next. Next we have this blush brush. This is the Pro 99 from Sephora, and I'm obsessed with this brush. This is good for applying bronzer. It's good for applying blush. It's good for applying contour. This is great. It's not super big. It blends everything out really nice. And what's nice is this isn't very big. So you can do apples of your cheeks. You can do all around, and it just kind of looks really good. It makes it look really beautiful. And the brush, I don't know what it is in these Sephora Pro brushes. They just diffuse product really well. This is a beautiful brush and definitely worth the money. The Sephora Pro brushes are a little bit expensive too. I believe each individual one that I've mentioned so far is around $30 to $35, but they're definitely worth the money in my opinion. So next, let's take on Sephora Pro. This is my obsession of life for a cream or liquid blush. This is the Sephora Pro 93, and this is like a slanted brush. And look at that, just the way that I actually used it to apply this morning, and the way that it applies is just so beautifully, and it isn't super intense. I don't know, like it gives like the perfect amount. So if it's cream, I love like apply it to the back of my hand and then dab it off and then just apply it to my cheeks, and it just blends it beautifully. And it doesn't make, sometimes with creams, if you're using a brush, which is my preference, sometimes it can make it look much more apparent on the skin. It just can look more apparent. This one is good because it doesn't do that, and I don't really know why, but this is great. It just blends beautifully. And then if you aren't, let's say, using it that day, but you applied cream blush and you really want to just kind of tap it in and melt, like just get it to like diffuse perfectly, this is great too. Okay, next we have another Sephora Pro brush. This is the Sephora 96. I'm obsessed with this brush. This is really nice for just kind of fluffing product, but it isn't so fluffy. Like, I don't know, there's like a little bit of, it's not like a super fluffy brush, which I love. Sometimes brushes, specifically for blush, girl, get it together. Sometimes for blush, brushes can be too fluffy, and I want something with a slight more resistance, and this is great for fluffing. This is also good for blending out the edges. This is a really good brush to have in the collection, especially when you're applying blush. Sometimes you over apply, or you need to kind of diffuse the edges or make it look a little less apparent, a little bit more natural. This is an incredible brush for that because it just kind of does an amazing job. It's also great for just applying a little bit on your cheeks. This works with powder, this works with creams and liquids. I don't know, this is really, really good. I would say that that both of these actually work decently with powders. My preference is this one with powder, but it's so good. Okay, next we have, this is the Morphe Ariel, another one from his collection with them. This is the 822, and this is such a good brush. You can also use this with highlighter if you want, even like bronzer, anything like that. I have blush on right now, but I'm gonna show you how it applies just because it's so good. So I'm gonna take this here. This is the, I'll link it down below. This is a Bare Minerals blush. I'm gonna just, oh my gosh, just look at how it applies it. It just applies everything so seamlessly. And it doesn't overwhelm. It's just so good. It just lightly applies it. I'm obsessed with this brush. It's just so good. I mean, just look at what that does. Incredible. Just so pretty. And you can just apply apples to your cheeks, or you can go all the way up. I just feel like it doesn't look great on me. Another brush I like to use a lot for powder, for cleaning up like blush, like, this is just so good. I love this brush. So this is also from the Ariel collection with Morphe. This is the A32. This is such a good brush. This has like a perfect amount of fluff for bronzer, for powder, for blush, and you can just really, I mean, even powder blush just on the cheeks. This is a really good brush. The great thing about the Ariel Morphe collection is that it's very, very versatile, and everything you need is in that collection, which is really nice, because sometimes having to pick individual brushes like piece by piece, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Just give me all the brushes I need. This is a great collection, but it's just so good. I love this. This is great for setting just around the face. Like, I love this brush. It just gets into all the nooks and crannies. I'm obsessed. Okay, next. Oh, I love this brush. I have two of these. So this is the Flower Beauty. I think this is Precision Blush Brush. It doesn't have a name on it. Everything will be linked. This is so, so good because it, again, kind of similar to this, but a little less loose. It just fluffs everything on the cheeks perfectly. And this is, I have two. I have one for blush and then one for powder. And this is just good for a light set of powder. I just love these brushes. They're super soft. I don't have any like fluffies come off of it or any like hairs. This is a great brush. I've recommended it to a ton of people, and it's really affordable. So if you want something that's in similar vibe to this, although this is definitely a little bit more fluffy, you can definitely get that same effect with this brush. It's really, really good. Okay, next. Here. So this is such a good brush. I love this for kind of pinpointing around the face and just everywhere, like just everywhere. This works under the eyes. This also works for blending out concealer. This is the A14 from Morphe Ariel, and this is just, I mean, I'm obsessed with this brush. It's just so good. Again, this collection of brushes, like, they just did such a good job. So this is all the brushes I mentioned so far are from the one that's the full kit. They also have a collection that's just eyeshadow brushes, but I have one full kit, and then I also have one individual, like an eyeshadow one. This is good. So again, this is the A14. You can apply highlight with it. It's just a really, really, really good brush. Highly recommend. Okay, let's do these next. So these are all the same Real Techniques brush. I have 3 of them and I'm obsessed. This is so good for highlighter, setting under the eyes, or setting smaller areas of the face. So these are just the setting brush, and I have 3, and I like to use 3 for different reasons. I like this one, this pink one. This one I've had the longest, clearly. Look how beat up it is. This one I use for powder all around my face. This one I use, this brighter pink one, I like to use for highlighter specific. And then this one I really like to use for something that is a little bit more of a brightening powder, like let's say the Hourglass Ambient Lighting or the Honest Beauty ones that are a dupe for those. I really, really like these. They're so good. I mean, these are so versatile and so cheap, and like, I mean, I have 3 of them. I actually think I have 4. I just don't know where the 4th one is. Okay, next. Concealer brush. So there's a lot of great concealer brushes out there, but this one is really good. Rare Beauty has one that's similar to this too. It is one that a concealer brush that has like a curve, so when you like blend out, it just hits all the curves. I don't know, it's so good. It blends out seamlessly. Concealer looks beautiful with it. It diffuses it. I don't know, it like really makes your under eyes look really like smooth. This is such a good concealer brush. I'm obsessed with it. This is, I did not say the name. This is the Ami Collet concealer brush. Again, Rare Beauty also has ones that's similar, that's kind of like this style. These kind of are my preference right now for like my under eyes, but this is so good, worth the money. Okay, next let's move on to brushes for my eyes. So these are all my favorite brushes for my eyes, are currently all Morphe ones, but one is from the Ariel palette and one isn't a palette from the Ariel collection, and one is not. So I'm gonna kind of separate them out. So I have a bunch that I love. So this one here is the A18. This is amazing for smudging under the eyes, but also smudging liner and creating a beautiful wing. I really like this, although it's kind of like a smaller brush like this. This is just so good at laying it down so that I can create a perfect wing. Such a good smudge brush. This is like such a good all-rounder one. Next I have this one here. This is the A29. I really like this for smudging stuff under my eyes and for placing stuff on my lid. This is really, really good. This works really good if I want to do bronzer, like cream bronzer on my lid, which I've been doing a ton. This is amazing. Next we have this. This is the A7 brush. This is kind of a little bit more pinpointy. And this one I love for being really pinpointy and like getting in the corner, and just like if I need to smudge with something that's not quite as like a little bit less dense, I don't know, this is just really good. And I love to just like smoke out my lash line and my up. It's just so good. I'm obsessed. Okay, next we have brushes that I kind of use in my crease and all over the lid. So first we have this one. This is the A25. This is amazing. This is really good for getting really like precise color placement, and then I always like to blend with my finger at the edge. There's nothing that blends quite like your finger, I swear, but this places really well. So this is great for if I want a less intense like color to like up here. If I want something a little bit more pinpointed, I will use this, but also if I want to place a darker color here, I'll do that. This is an amazing brush. Next, I love this brush here. This is so good. This is a really, really fluffy crease brush. This is the A11, and this is so good, and it's so fluffy. I love this. Finding a really good fluffy crease brush can be really challenging, and this is really, really good. Does a great job, diffuses product out really well, and I just feel like it gives me what I need when I'm blending. I can just blend for hours with this. It's just so good. There's nothing on this. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's so good. Next we have this. This is the A20, and I really like this brush a lot. I really like to place, or even like to like really precisely blend in the crease. This is super, super, super good. And if I don't have, let's say this one here, which is the A29, which I said I really like to blend out my like lower lash line with, I can use this as well. I just kind of pinch it and do that. All these are also really great if you like to contour. I don't contour my nose or anything like that, but if you do, these are all really, really great. They're just so fluffy, and they just like give everything that you need. It's so good. So the next, let's move on to my other Morphe ones. There's a bunch of great ones like Sigma. I mean, there's so many good eye like brushes, but personally I like ones that I like don't have to worry about that much, or don't like, I'm not spending too much on, because I find that I lose them, but also that I, you know, if I like a brush, I like to have multiples of it. So like all these eye brushes that I showed you, I have multiples of, and I like to have multiples of brushes, because cleaning, my hair looks crazy today, you guys. Cleaning brushes, truly, chore, hate it. Okay, next, let's move on to these. So I love this brush. I'm obsessed with this brush. It's so good for placing product down. It's a flat brush like this, and it is just so good. So this is the M432, and I've used this on camera before. I love this for like up here, but also for placing very gently, like a really, really dark color that I don't want to go too far down. This is amazing. Next, I have this one. This is such a good brush. This is the M213. I'm obsessed with this. This is similar to this one here, which is the A18. The shape is just, it's like a little bit smaller, as you can see. Can this focus on the brushes, please? Thank you. This is just a little bit, like the bristles are a little bit longer, and it's a little bit smaller on the side. Like it's not as wide, but this is so good. I love this. I love to just blend. This one I don't like to use as much for like my winged liner, but this is a really good brush for like fluffing all around and everything looking nice and smoky. Schmocking it out. All right, next. I love this crease brush. This is the M200. Everything's like smudged off. I've had this brush for so long. I love this. This is a great crease brush, and it is a little bit more precise than the Ariel one that I love. So good. It's more in the same vein as this one here, which is the A25, but a little bit more fluffy. It's kind of like the baby of these two. It's such a good brush. Okay, next we have two more brushes I love to use. So this is also one that I like to use in the crease or to place and fluff darker color out with. This is the M332. It's really good. It's very fluffy. I've had all the black ones for years. They're just so good. The thing about Morphe brushes is I don't have a lot of flaking or flaking. I just don't have any like hair fallout or anything like that really, which is nice. And then lastly, I really like this one, which is the E17. I like this for placing really dark color on the edges where I don't want it to go too high up, and it makes it really easy to place. But then when I blend with it, it doesn't, because the bristles are a little bit more stiff, it doesn't fluff everywhere when I am, let's say, like moving it around. I don't know, this is such a good brush. This is also really good for when I want to smoke out the lash line, but I want it to be a thicker line, but I don't want to use something that is a little bit more precise like this brush here. I want something like this. This is so good. Okay, so those are all the brushes. Now let's move on to sponges. So I have two sponges that I really like. One that I've mentioned a million times on this channel and like ride or die, like true obsession of life. And then one that is newer to me. So this one here is the Real Techniques, and this is really affordable. This is, I believe, $10. You can buy like a pack on Amazon and just like more than one. It's just so good. I have like 3 right now. I need to order more. So good. And I know that like beauty blenders, like the brand beauty blenders, are like $20 or something like that. This is so good, so worth it. And it has that sharp edge, so if you like to like bake your contour, or you like to make a really precise line, this is really, really good for that. These are so good. It absorbs water perfectly, it blends out everything beautifully. I'm obsessed with these. I mean, it's a sponge. I can't say too much about it because there's only so much you can say, but this is freaking amazing. And then this one, so this one, so dirty. This one is the L'Oreal Morphe collab one that you get in the big collection. This is a really nice brush, and I love this because it's dual-ended like sharpness, and it just gets in there really, really well. If I had to pick, I would go Real Techniques anyways, because these are just so good and so affordable and so accessible, and like people, like, you got to get rid of your sponges like eventually, and you can't keep them too long, and they get moldy and gross if you just let them sit. So this being accessible, being able to buy it at Target, CVS, wherever, but also online, wherever you want to buy it, you can, like, these are amazing. But these are also really great. The Morphe L'Oreal one, I really, really like this. And yeah, that is it for my favorite makeup brushes. I would love to know what your favorite makeup brushes are down below. If you haven't, let me know down below already. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.